Welcome to the channel. Before we dive into the wonders of Porto's magnificent Cathedral, I want to take a moment to warmly thank you for being here. It's truly humbling to share these moments and stories with all of you. Exploring sites of such profound history is a privilege, and I deeply appreciate your interest in this journey through Portugal's heritage. As we walk through centuries of faith, architecture, and legend, I hope you'll feel the same gratitude and awe that I do, not just for these remarkable places, but for this amazing community of viewers. The Cathedral of the Assumption of Our Lady, commonly known as Porto Cathedral, is one of Porto's oldest and most significant landmarks. Its history is tightly interwoven with the origins of the city and the founding of Portugal itself. The site of the cathedral has been a religious center since at least the early 12th century, and possibly earlier, as archaeological finds include tombs dating back to the 9th century. Construction began in the first half of the 12th century under Bishop de Hugo, a French nobleman. He started building both the cathedral and protective walls, using a donation from Dea Teresa, mother of Portugal's first king, D. Afonso Henriques. The initial structure was built in the Romanesque style, which is visible in its fortress-like layout, thick walls, and geometric design features. The work was largely completed by the end of the 13th century. The cathedral's facade, bell towers, and rose window are characteristic of the Romanesque era. In the 14th century, a Gothic cloister was added, along with the funerary chapel of João Gordo, a knight of the Order of Hospitallers. The cloister is renowned for its tranquil environment and historic value. The cathedral was the site of the royal wedding between King D. João I and D. Filipa de Lencastre in 1387, an event of national importance. The 17th and 18th centuries saw major renovations, particularly the addition of Baroque architectural elements. In 1736, Italian architect Niccolao Nasoni designed the ornate loggia on the north facade. Baroque domes and a new portal in 1772 were also added during this period. Various chapels and altarpieces reflect the Marian cult, and a large silver altarpiece shielded from Napoleon's army in 1809 adds to the cathedral's lore. Historical significance. The cathedral stands on the highest point in the city, giving it strategic and symbolic prominence. Over centuries, it has been a focal point for important city events, royal ceremonies, and even refuge for the people during wartime. As a World Heritage Site, Cathedral is a testament to the city's religious, architectural, and social history. Its interiors display elements from different periods, including Romanesque, Gothic, Mannerist, and Baroque, demonstrating the cathedral's adaptation and endurance through Portuguese history. The Cathedral in Porto is notable for its twin towers, which are among the most recognizable architectural features of the monument and deeply reflective of its historical evolution. The two towers were part of the original Romanesque construction, dating back to the 12th and 13th centuries. Their fortress-like appearance symbolized both religious authority and defensive strength for the city. Positioned on the highest point of the city, the towers offer panoramic views over Porto and the Douro River, serving not only spiritual purposes, but also giving Porto's bishops influence over the cityscape. In the 18th century, Baroque elements were added, including distinctive domes and balustrades atop the towers. This work was attributed to Italian architect Niccolao Nasoni, who left a lasting mark on several Porto monuments. Originally, the towers featured merlons, battlements typical of defensive architecture, which are still present today. The famous rose window and classic facade between the towers also date from the Romanesque period. Each of the towers houses bells and has served heraldic and liturgical roles over the centuries. Visitors can enjoy stunning views from the towers, making them both an architectural and touristic highlight. The cloister adjoining the Cathedral is one of the most celebrated Gothic architectural features in the city and an important highlight for visitors seeking both history and artistry. The cloister was constructed during the Gothic period, specifically in the 14th and 15th centuries, under the reign of King Juan I. Cloisters and cathedrals traditionally served as enclosed spaces for contemplation, prayer, and clerical activities, often connecting various functional parts of the church. Architectural features. The Porto Cathedral's cloister stands out as a prime example of Gothic architecture, featuring pointed arches, ribbed vaults, and slender columns. One of its most distinctive features is the extensive use of Portuguese azulejos, blue and white ceramic tiles, which depict biblical scenes and moments from religious history. These tiles were installed in later centuries, adding additional artistic value to the Gothic stonework. The cloister includes the renowned funerary chapel of João Gordo, a knight of the Order of Hospitallers. He served as the treasurer in the court of King Dinis I of Portugal. His stature and influence are highlighted by the exceptional honor of having his own funerary chapel within the cathedral, an honor generally reserved for royalty or high-ranking clergy. His tomb, constructed in 1333, is an outstanding example of Gothic funerary art, featuring an effigy of João Gordo and intricate bas reliefs of the apostles. The placement and artistry of his chapel symbolize the vital roles military orders and noble supporters played in the medieval religious and political life of Portugal. The cloister provides access to other areas within the cathedral complex, such as the Sacred Art Museum and several chapels. Historical significance. The cloister was witness to important historical events. King Juan I married Philippa of Lancaster in the cathedral in 1387, signifying the dynastic and diplomatic significance of the site. The Sé Cathedral in Porto is a major Roman Catholic church, originally built in the 12th century atop Penaventosa Hill, the site of a former Swabian church. Its founding is closely linked to Count Henry and Dona Teresa, the parents of Portugal's first king, Afonso Henriques. The church's plan follows a Latin cross. The nave is narrow and tall, with large pillars and a high barrel-vaulted ceiling, providing a somber, fortress-like atmosphere. Interior decoration is restrained, with bare stone walls contrasting richly adorned altars and chapels. The main altar, built in the early 18th century, and several side chapels feature intricate gilded woodwork, telha dourada in Baroque style. Many chapels, as well as the Gothic cloister, are decorated with exquisite blue and white azulejo ceramic tiles depicting biblical and poetic scenes, notably from the Song of Songs and Ovid's Metamorphoses. The cathedral houses centuries-old sculptures and notable altarpieces, especially the silver altar, Altar de Prata, in the Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament, a masterpiece of Portuguese goldsmithery. Chapels and special features. Gothic Funeral Chapel, or the João Gordo's Chapel, dates to 1333, marks the Gothic influence and features detailed sculpture work. Sé do Porto was the venue for major national events, including the 1387 marriage of King Juan I and Philippa of Lancaster, which sealed the Anglo-Portuguese alliance. The church is dedicated to the Virgin Mary under several titles, including Nossa Senhora da Vendôma, patroness of Porto, which features prominently in the municipal coat of arms. The intricate woodwork, covered in gold leaf, is characteristic of Portuguese Baroque art from the 17th and 18th centuries. This elaborate decoration style, known as talha dourada, creates a sense of opulence and depth, contrasting with the plain granite walls of the main nave. The statue of the Virgin Mary. Central to the altarpiece is a statue of the Madonna, holding the Christ child and radiating with golden sunburst motifs, an iconography closely linked to the cathedral's patron saint, Nossa Senhora da Vendôma, the protector of Porto. Flanking the central figures are a host of angels and saints, intricately carved and arrayed in dynamic poses amid a setting of twisting columns and floral motifs. The exterior stands as a testament to centuries of religious authority and architectural evolution, while the interior reveals the sumptuous devotion of later generations, all making the cathedral a true jewel of Porto's heritage. The breathtaking main altar of the Sé Cathedral in Porto is one of the finest examples of exuberant Baroque art in Portugal. The altar explodes with gilded woodwork, talha dourada, featuring twisted columns, elaborate scrollwork, floral motifs, cherubs, and a riot of religious symbolism. This level of ornate decoration typifies the Counter-Reformation era, when Catholic churches sought to inspire awe and deep devotion through dazzling visual effects. At the center, you find the tabernacle and a sculptural representation indicating the heart of Catholic worship, the reserved Eucharist. The altar is flanked by statues of saints and clerical figures, each positioned between the towering gilded columns. Above the main altar space is a large painting set in an ornate gilded frame. The painting typically depicts a scene from the life of Christ, the Virgin Mary, or another foundational moment of Catholic theology, serving both didactic and inspirational purposes for the faithful. Multiple statues inhabit the altar. Among them are prominent saints, perhaps local patrons, apostles, or founding bishops, each richly robed, carrying their traditional attributes, and set in niches to emphasize hierarchy in the celestial court. The ceiling immediately above the altar is vaulted with decorated panels and floral bosses. The adjacent choir stalls and organ loft, to the left in the image, also feature lavish golden ornamentation and sculpted details, extending the Baroque aesthetic throughout the sanctuary. The main altar is the focal point for major liturgical celebrations, including masses and sacramental rites. Its opulence reflects both the wealth and faith of Porto's ecclesiastical patrons. The grandeur serves a purpose beyond aesthetics. It was intended to draw worshippers' eyes heavenward, creating an overwhelming sense of the divine presence. The legend of Nossa Senhora de Silva, Our Lady of the Woods. According to legend, while masons were gathering stone for the cathedral's construction, they found a statue of the Virgin Mary hidden in a forest. This statue, called Nossa Senhora de Silva, Our Lady of the Woods, was venerated and eventually placed within the cathedral. The miraculous discovery of the statue contributed to the sense of divine approval for the church's foundation and remains an evocative story for Porto's faithful. The silver altar of the Sé Cathedral in Porto is located in the chapel of the Blessed Sacrament, which is at the end of the left transept inside the cathedral. When entering the cathedral, you can find it to the left of the chancel, main altar. This chapel not only houses the famous silver altar, one of the finest examples of Portuguese silverwork, but is also close to the revered statue of Nossa Senhora da Vendôme, the saving of the silver altar legend. During the Napoleonic invasions in the early 19th century, locals feared that the French would plunder the cathedral's magnificent silver altar in the chapel of the Blessed Sacrament. A much-repeated local legend says that a quick-thinking sacristan covered the altar with lime, disguising it as a plain wooden structure and thereby saving it from theft. While historical records suggest the reality was more complex, negotiations with the French ultimately saved the altar, the story endures and is often told by local guides. This altar, dedicated to Saint Pantaleon and the Nativity of the Virgin Mary, Nossa Senhora do Presépio, Our Lady of the Manger, is one of the most historically and artistically significant side chapels in the Sé Cathedral of Porto. The altar is a splendid example of Portuguese talha dourada, gilded woodwork, a Baroque art form characterized by lavish gold leaf-covered carvings and intricate scrollwork, floral motifs, and dynamic architectural elements. The centerpiece of the altar is a painting of the Nativity, the birth of the Virgin Mary or Christ, depending on iconographical interpretation. Surrounding the sculptures is a spectacular framework of golden spiral columns and acanthus leaves, with angels or cherubs above and finely detailed, religious-themed paintings beside. The images include another sculptural group, final image, of two seated, crowned female figures, This may represent Saint Anne teaching the Virgin Mary, a common theme in Catholic iconography, stressing wisdom, lineage, and maternal devotion. The figures are rendered with expressive, lifelike facial features and draped in lushly colored robes, enhancing their sacred presence. The embroidered altar frontal contributes to the richness of the setting, denoting reverence and the importance of liturgical textiles in worship. This chapel reflects the Baroque era's emphasis on drama, ornament, and didactic religious scenes, intended to awe and educate worshippers. The presence of both statuary and painting highlights the Portuguese tradition of integrating multiple forms of sacred art, creating spaces that are visually lavish and spiritually uplifting. Below it stands a polychromed wooden statue of Saint Pantaleon, depicted as a youthful martyr dressed in classical robes, arms open in a gesture of intercession and blessing. Saint Pantaleon was an early Christian martyr and a former patron saint of Porto. His relics, a skull fragment or other bones, were brought to the cathedral in the 15th century and are kept at this altar enshrined for veneration. The presence of these relics made this altar a focus of special devotion and pilgrimage, especially during past centuries, when saintly relics played a major role in Catholic worship. The legend of the relics of Saint Pantaleon. When the relics of Saint Pantaleon were brought to Porto in the 15th century, obscure legends sprang up regarding their arrival, suggesting divine intervention and miracles. Saint Pantaleon became a powerful symbol of protection for the city, and mysterious tales still surround his veneration at the cathedral. The legend of Nossa Senhora da Vendoma, Our Lady of Vendoma. The relics of Saint Pantaleon in the Sé Cathedral of Porto are kept in a reliquary box placed on the altarpiece of the cathedral's high main chapel in the church's transept. A fragment of Saint Pantaleon's skull was historically housed there. Today, the main relic is preserved on the altar of Our Lady of the Manger, which is located in the transept area of the cathedral. This altar is a richly gilded chapel within the cathedral. Central to the altarpiece is a statue of the Madonna, holding the Christ child and radiating with golden sunburst motifs, an iconography closely linked to the cathedral's patron saint, Nossa Senhora da Vendoma, the protector of Porto. Flanking the central figures are a host of angels and saints, intricately carved and arrayed in dynamic poses amid a setting of twisting columns and floral motifs. The blue and gold decorative backdrop behind the Madonna typifies Marian devotion and Baroque artistic conventions, amplifying the chapel's visual and spiritual impact. The statue of Nossa Senhora da Vendoma, the patron saint of Porto, is located inside the Sé Cathedral on the left side, near the silver altar, Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament. This revered 14th century image is set within a dedicated chapel in the transept of the cathedral, highlighting its prominence and spiritual importance for the city. Tradition holds that Basque troops from Vendôme brought the statue to Porto during the Reconquista. Her presence in the cathedral and subsequent miracles are a source of local pride and religious fervor. At the center stands a statue of the Virgin Mary with the child Jesus, a motif central to Catholic worship and especially venerated in Portuguese tradition. The Madonna is positioned on an elevated plinth set within a burst of decorative gold, drawing the viewer's focus immediately to her. Flanking the Virgin are two additional life-sized saints, each in vibrant garments. On the left, Saint Hilary, S. Hilario, is clearly named at the base of his statue. The figure on the right also appears to be a significant saint, possibly a bishop or martyr, given the attire and pose. Both are integrated into the dense, swirling ornamentation. The chapel is framed by monumental granite pillars and an arched entrance, again juxtaposing the medieval stone with Baroque exuberance. The surrounding sanctuary is decorated with elaborate stucco work, painted ceilings, and more gilded timber. Chapels like this were both places for private prayer and family chaplaincy, and sometimes used to honor local saints or patrons. The lavish use of gold, remarkable sculpture, and dramatic visual hierarchy were meant to inspire devotion and highlight the glory of the heavenly court. In front of the altar is a beautifully patterned antependium, altar frontal, adding another layer of artistic richness to the shrine. At the center of the niche is a statue of a bishop saint depicted in ecclesiastical vestments with two attendants flanking him. The bishop is likely a notable patron of the cathedral or a saint venerated locally, and his elevated position underscores his spiritual importance. The opulent gold contrasts with the solid, pale granite walls and arches of the surrounding medieval structure, a classic juxtaposition found throughout Say Cathedral. This set of images highlights another majestic Baroque side chapel within the Say Cathedral of Porto, demonstrating the extraordinary craftsmanship and devotion that define the cathedral's interior. The chapel is framed by monumental granite pillars and an arched entrance, again juxtaposing the medieval stone with Baroque exuberance. The surrounding sanctuary is decorated with elaborate stucco work, painted ceilings, and more gilded timber. Chapels like this were both places for private prayer and family chaplaincy, and sometimes used to honor local saints or patrons. The lavish use of gold, remarkable sculpture, and dramatic visual hierarchy were meant to inspire devotion and highlight the glory of the heavenly court. In front of the altar is a beautifully patterned antependium, altar frontal, adding another layer of artistic richness to the shrine. These images provide a closer look at one of the ornate side chapels in Porto's Say Cathedral, likely dedicated to a significant saint or featuring a unique devotional scene, showcasing the artistry, symbolism, and historical depth of the church's interior. The chapel is framed by monumental, intricately carved stone pilasters and an arched entrance adorned with Renaissance and Baroque flourishes. The combination of unadorned, pale granite stonework and dazzling gilded woodwork exemplifies the cathedral's integration of medieval austerity and later artistic exuberance. The richly gilded readable houses multiple statues. The central figure is a bishop or saint, vested in ecclesiastical robes and holding a crozier, bishop's staff, and book, common attributes for saints or notable religious figures. The flanking figures in red and white vestments may represent deacons, acolytes, or other clerical attendants, emphasizing the importance of ecclesiastical hierarchy and support. Thank you so much for joining me on this detailed exploration of the Say Cathedral, a true treasure of Porto and a living testament to centuries of belief, artistry, and community spirit. I am genuinely grateful for each of you who takes the time to watch, learn, and support this channel. If you found this content meaningful, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and sharing it with friends and fellow travelers. Most importantly, leave a comment below. Your thoughts, questions, and experiences add so much value and help us grow together. Just a heads up, some links in the description may be affiliate links, which means if you choose to make a purchase, it supports the channel at no extra cost to you. Thank you for your trust and support. If you'd like to go a step further in supporting the channel, I invite you to join our Patreon community. Thank you for your humility, your curiosity, and your presence. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you in the comments and in the next adventure.